of the water line.
WLIA for having me here today. It kind of figures it would be my first presentation in front of WLIA, and it's virtual. So today we're going to talk a little bit about outcomes. We're not really going to try to hawk product to you that much. What we'd like you to do is begin to think of the next level, begin to think how you take your projects within your municipalities, counties, states, and better demonstrate the outcomes to the people that are going to use those infrastructures throughout the years. So without further ado, I'm going to figure out how to share my screen, and I have a pre-recorded video of how SiteVision or how augmented reality can help you better understand your projects. So for probably the 150th time, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you very much and enjoy.
Hey, Larry, can you make sure that you turn your sound on and share that within the Zoom?
So you're not hearing it?
No, you have to go to the settings and then click to share your computer's audio.
Okay. That's not it. Confused. Yeah, I'm not finding the actual screen to to share with here, to unshare. I've got the tile of the participants, but I don't see how I.
Hey, Larry, this is your backup moderator. I've been doing some work about sharing screens. On the top of your screen, if you hover it, does it trigger down some Zoom tools?
No, hang on a second, I'm looking. I've got 3 screens here, so sometimes let's do that.
There you go.
And where did you say in settings? Under the
Now that you're not sharing your screen, if you go to share your screen again, before you hit the final OK, in the bottom left corner, you'll want to select Share Sound Through Computer.
Went directly to sharing when I tried that.
Okay, so, okay.
Let me try again. Let's try the application this time.
This is a good opportunity to stretch if you need to, people.
And we'll talk about that a little bit. Better? My name is Larry.
Yes, we can hear it. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Guy Hevner. I work for Seiler Instruments in the Chicago area, and I am responsible for mapping and GIS sales. So like any good GPS or GNSS discussion, let's talk about medicine. Sorry, it may be a little attempt at humor, but I also wanted to draw your attention to something that's very important to how medicine is practiced today. It's actually a key strategy of clinical as well as hospital-based practice. It's called outcome-based medicine. And this key strategy really focuses on the outcomes to the patients themselves. Now, I have the dictionary or the internet definition of outcome-based healthcare below, but to give you some examples of what outcomes are within the medical community. Mortality is the first one that you think of. Can we reduce or reduce mortality within our patient body? Safety of care, readmissions. You don't want patients coming back for the same thing over and over again. The patient experience, the effectiveness of care. These are all basically different views of the patient, and delivering excellent services around that is what outcome-based medicine is about. So let's take that and begin thinking about that in terms of what we do day to day. I'm asking for a thought experiment from each of you. So we have 3 pictures here, and we're going to have a lot of pictures throughout the presentation. So hopefully you'll make it less than totally boring. But instead of thinking of these things as a bridge, a road, a sewer system, let's put the resident at the center of this discussion. Let's put the resident at the center of this discussion, then maybe think about outcomes that we see in front of us. So it's not really a bridge, is it? It's really a way to connect communities, connect people together. It's not just a road, it's a road with real good view lines, runoff. It's a safe road. So our community, our residents, will be able to safely come and go from our community as well as their family members and friends. It isn't a sewer system, is it? Really, it is a way to reduce disease and return to nature what we take. A sewer system, as we're all familiar with, takes water from a local source and then through sanitation methods returns that water to a local source. So it adds to the sustainability of our communities and the ability for our residents to have a happy experience within the community itself. So it's not just a road, it's saving lives. It's not just a bridge, it's quality of life. It isn't just a sewer system, it is a way to meet the needs and grow sustainability so that what we take from nature, we're able to return. A solution alternative, of course, for controlling these outcomes a little bit better is augmented reality. So I want to take a step back and make it clear there are no dragons killed at the end of a SiteVision session out in the field. You don't get super turbo capabilities with your Mario Kart. It is a tool that you use with the data that you have. So this data can come from CAD tools like AutoCAD or AutoCAD Civil 3D. It can also be as simple as a CSV file, or you can bring your data over from Esri's ArcGIS via SHP file transfer. This is moved into a cloud environment, and it's not just a cloud environment. This data is massaged. It's made simpler to understand in essence, and more compact. So it's easier to move that data onto the SiteVision system itself, which does use a cellular connection in the field to access the internet and the cloud itself. Once in the field, 2 things are added to this capability. So you have your data on one side coming in, 2 things are added to that data. Centimeter precision GPS. At the heart of this is the Catalyst system from Trimble, and you will operate SiteVision at its highest precision, which is centimeter level. There is also an electronic distance measuring tool for the SiteVision as well. This allows you to take in the field measurements of slope and distance quickly and easily. So really it's about bringing the data together if we're going to understand what the outcomes may be for a particular project that we might be undertaking. But it has to be simple to understand. We need to get it out into the field. We need to take a look at what the proposal is and make sure it fits our expectations, regulations, whatever that may be. We have to let those involved with the process see it. The construction people, the residents, the village board, all can come out in the field and see what is happening or going to happen via the SiteVision tool. Okay, sounds interesting. What do you see? Well, below you or in front of you, more appropriately, is an actual view through a SiteVision screen. This is a storm drainage system, so we've got the culverts running underground, obviously, from this head to various manholes, and you can see other connections within that drainage system itself. There's some property pretty close by, so you can see it running through, I'm guessing are the cable boxes maybe? And it gives you somewhat of an idea of the construction that went on for this particular residential site. So let's dig a little deeper and look at the interface itself over at the top left. This may be familiar to you if you've used Trimble equipment in the field before. We're looking at the number of satellites, what our current accuracy is as 2 centimeters, and the direction we're facing. Over on the right, obviously it can get pretty crowded if you put all the data that exists underground in certain areas. So data views allows you to turn on the high pressure side, the main side of the data, and turn off perhaps the storm sewers. Below that are different modes. It's actually that particular area on the lower right is for different modes. Right now, pit mode is turned off. We'll talk about that later. And then finally, there are some view controls and the current action that we're undertaking in the system itself. The current view control is set to transparency. So you're actually looking at this on an Android phone, and the Android phone itself is what I would call in landscape mode, and then it's actually mounted in the system. We'll talk about that in the next slide. So as you look at that particular picture through your phone, you can slide the transparency slider, and towards the right, you see more data, or the digital data that you have, and then towards the left, the actual picture that you're taking. So it's very interactive. It's a very simple interface to use. And again, you can see some of the idea of the simplification here. We're not going to go into great detail and include the asset tags on here. We're really looking at how does the pipe lay, where does it go, and what does it look like in relation to others around it. As you can see, there is a residential neighborhood right behind this area itself. So that's the basic look into what you see with SiteVision. Okay, Larry, how does it work? So obviously there's some complex pieces here, all put together in a rather simple package. And I think that's the genius of the system itself. It allows you to use some commonly used pieces and still be able to bring augmented reality out to the field at a low cost. So the first thing that you're going to need, like all things, is a software app. It's called the SiteVision app, and you download that from the App Store. As I said, in landscape mode is an Android phone, and it does the talking to the GPS as well as to the internet. And you are pulling down what can be substantial data, depending on the amount of it that you want to view in the field itself. So you do need a good connection to that phone. Wi-Fi will work if you can set up Wi-Fi, or 4G LTE, which is available nationwide. Again, you're going to be pulling some data down, so you're going to need to have a decent connection in order to have the performance that you'd like to have. So let's go into the SiteVision kit itself. SiteVision itself, the application is a subscription system, so you'll need to keep your subscription valid. An Android 9 phone or later. Trimble has specific recommendations for specific phones on their website, And these phones need what's referred to as an augmented reality core. It's a piece of software, in other words. And again, the Trimble site does have the correct phones that have the supported piece of software that you're going to need. Phone case would be nice to protect it. You can mount that in the handle, and there is room to put a protective device around your phone. And then you mount it into the SiteVision system. You may need a phone charger to bring with you. The SiteVision system itself does have some batteries inside of the handle. These are used to power the EDM. The EDM is built into that handle system that you see before you, and uses that battery power itself. Other than that, you have a nice carrying case with it, and it makes the transition from office to job site fairly seamless in a single place. I'd be loath if I didn't say that you can also put these on a pole. This is a pole mounted unit too, if you prefer to have it on a pole. It helps stabilize the unit a little bit, obviously, as well. So that's really how it works. There's a software application and a phone, and it's talking to a GPS system. Okay, Larry, what are some of the things that the SiteVision system or this augmented reality system can do? First one, and probably the most necessary one in many cases, is measurement in the field. If you're taking your digital data out into the field and you want to get some idea of how closely it gets to reality, because it's never quite reality, right? You want to be able to measure that difference. Here, we're actually looking at the distance from a manhole to a curb. And the return is over on the right, as you can see, and it also gives you the grade. So the question is, does this piece of property drain out to the curbing during a storm so that water can be taken into the storm system itself? The answer we get is there is a grade to that curbing, and the distance is about 1.5 meters. So very quickly, not only can you interact with the digital data, but you can start being able to inform yourself a little bit about your existing assets and what may or may not be there. Urban transportation. It can be a nightmare, particularly when you're working through towns and villages that have close-in real estate and close-in properties. SiteVision is an awesome tool, or this augmented reality system is an awesome tool to use in conjunction with this. So I'm going to kind of start circling back to the beginning of my presentation, and let's talk a little outcomes at the end of this slide. So on the left, we actually see a proposed road and how it's sited and aligned through a small town or village. On the left, we have some multi-family housing. On the right, it looks like a pub or perhaps a little restaurant in and of itself. And there's been looks like they're gonna actually elevate this road a little bit. The nice thing about using the system is that you can also cut through the design data itself. So what we're looking at on the right here, the top is south facing and the bottom is a north facing view of this same road. We've cut a cross section through the proposed development itself. So you can see the road bed, but you can also see some infrastructure that's running in there. Perhaps it's fiber, I don't know, but it looks like it is going to be part of this elevated road bed, and you can actually see it coming up on the curbing in that top right picture. So I said we're going to think a little bit about outcome in this slide. So I'm going to ask a question, I'll give a quick answer. I think it'd probably be the right spot. Where would you put the staging yard for this place? Again, we've got residents on the left and we've got a restaurant on the right. And do we want to locate all that heavy equipment, material, and culvert or fiber right by their either by their place where they live or their place where they eat and dine? If you look over on the left on that picture to the lower right, you see a sidewalk going in, being that that's usually the last thing that goes in during one of these reconstruction projects. Maybe that would be the right place to park the equipment at the end of the night, stage some of our fiber or infrastructure that's going in there. Again, I don't know anything about this. but I am looking at a picture and making a decision of where it would be logical to do things as we tear into this road and start pushing earth. As GIS professionals, you're often called to work with your community development teams, often to identify parcels available for commercial or large residential development itself. Augmented reality makes a nice part of the community development's set of tools to work with their constituents and residents. Think of a business owner themselves being able to walk out to a given parcel within your community and being able to show them how their building will look on that site, what the access points should be, maybe some changes in order to accommodate pedestrian traffic itself into the business. Again, SiteVision gives your constituents and potential business owners a way to visualize their business within your community itself. Another area that really lets augmented reality shine is the idea of pedestrian thoroughfares, pedestrian walkways. Here we're looking at a pedestrian overpass to a metro line in a pretty cold place, by the way. So we could see where one of the bridge stands is going to be, how it's going to come across the tracks, and then it sort of slopes out to the left there. You can see the earthwork, the proposed earthwork at the end of the bridge itself, and it slopes off to the left where folks come on down and board their train into the city. On the extreme left, the red building there, denoted by the poorly maintained fence, is a residence. So let's go all the way back now. Is this the right outcome for this particular design? I'm not sure. You're going to have 50, 60 pedestrians every hour walking over the bridge, getting to their train, walking past this person's residence. Perhaps if they have to do that earthworks, maybe rather than just fading that bridge off to the left, the better idea might have been to make an S of some sort so that it turns to the left, yes, to accommodate the roadway there, but also then turns a little bit to the right so it takes people and their view away from that residence. A better outcome both for the residents and perhaps for the pedestrians themselves. Again, the augmented reality lets you see that before you actually have to pour any concrete or move any earth itself. Okay, that's it. Now it's your turn. In preparing this presentation, I took the liberty to go out to my local community, and there happens to be a considerable amount of construction going around, and take a look at some construction sites. So if you will, let's take a look at these construction sites and think about outcome again. As a quick aside though, I had to include this backhoe. It was actually cleaner than my car. I've never seen a backhoe that clean before. So in this first look at construction sites, we're going to test your own augmented reality capability. And really the test here is, can you imagine in your mind's eye where the span of this bridge is going to? This is basically a multi-municipality, multi-county DOT project going on in our backyard, and it's about 80% complete, to be honest with you. It's almost darn near done. So what I did in this instance is I went to the far side of the bridge, turned around, took a picture across the street. Then I did the same thing at the mid-span of the bridge. And finally, I came to the foreground here in the picture, what I call the right side of the bridge, and took another picture across the street. So what I'd like you to do now is take a look at these pictures. This is taken from the far. This was taken at mid-span of the bridge. Looks like you might be able to tell there. And this was taken from the right side of the bridge. Can you tell me where that bridge is going to go? Now, I will tell you, I was on site. I had a camera in my hand, and I could not tell exactly 100% where that bridge was going to go at this particular 80% complete now, this is a long road now, project. Can you? 85 feet in elevation gain about a quarter mile later, I turned around with my handy camera and took a picture, looking across the Fox River, by the way, and there was the answer for the bridge. It went straight across. Fairly obvious if you're standing in the right position and looking the right way. Augmented reality helps you do that from a safe location and without having to walk uphill. So I did mention there's a good amount of construction going around in our neighborhood and plenty of opportunities for pictures and plenty of opportunities to see if the outcome could have been better. As I was walking the sewer replacement project that was going on, I came across this, and I believe what this is a backup storm sewer system that actually pumps the water out from a lower area in the storm system itself in an older area of the town, and it actually releases in a local creek right up there. So the center picture is what I was looking at down the sidewalk. You see the laterals, you see these speed bumps, but also I'm sure there's a lot of water flowing through there too if they're moving storm water. To the right, you see the residences across the street and the for sale sign for that home in the middle. To the left, you see the businesses who, by the way, have been through multiple construction projects over multiple seasons. So my question is, of course, is this the best outcome that could be for the residents? And it is as important, if not more, than for the businesses that have their customers parking in this lot. Is it okay for a danger high voltage box to be sitting on the dirt? I don't know. I don't make those decisions. But I do say, is this the right outcome? And could something have been done maybe to make it a little easier on everybody involved? A little further up the road and across the street, the sidewalk has been closed, is the staging yard for this project. On this particular day, there was probably $1.5 million worth of heavy equipment, gravel, sand, dirt, culvert, dumpsters, contractor's box, located in essentially the downtown area next to a very heavily traveled Illinois Department of Transportation state highway. I don't know if this is the best location, certainly from a security standpoint for the equipment. Right next to the highway is probably a good place, but it also poses its own safety risks. Again, this may be a gray area for everyone involved, but these are decisions that have to be made, particularly when we're renovating and rehabilitating large areas of our older infrastructure. We need to think about the outcomes for our residents. In summary, augmented reality helps you take the data you've paid for, the highly accurate CAD data or GIS data, and move that into the context for which it will be used for projects outside, where you're changing things, rehabilitating, or adding new. You can collaborate with team members using augmented reality, and not just the team members, the construction crew, the inspectors, the folks that are going to live by the proposed changes, the village board. Everyone can interact with this data in order to offer comments and make it the best outcome for those involved. And finally, you can capture data with SiteVision so you can make those observations, perhaps take a dimension or two, and allow that for editing and refining the design to make a better outcome for those involved. A moment to speak about the company that I'm proud to represent and a gold sponsor of the 2020 ILGISA conference, Seiler Geospatial. We are part of Seiler Instrument and Manufacturing, and we have a team of trade professionals who can help you find the right methods and the right tools for data acquisition down to design. If you do have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you for joining me in this session.